When it comes to movies and TV shows, there's always this era that they usually have. For example, in the 2000s, we had this era of novel-based adaptations like Harry Potter, Twilight, Lord of the Rings, and so many more. And in the 2010s, we had the comic book adaptations like Avengers, Captain America, Batman, and so many more. Now in the 2020s, I think we're in a new era, the video game adaptations. Video game adaptations are well known as being terrible most of the time, that they're usually cursed. However, that's not really true. Not always at least. And with the 2020s, I can safely say that this is not true anymore. Video game adaptations are finally getting better. Some are good, some are decent, and some are bad. There is way too many that I could talk about. But I would like to talk about some of them, and if the video is successful enough for me, then I'm going to make more. The Uncharted movie, just simply called Uncharted, no line behind it like Drake's Redemption or Among Thieves or any of this. This one is not really an adaptation, but it's more of a prequel to the series. It explains how Sully and Drake met each other, among many other characters. Honestly, this isn't bad. It's watchable, but I think the most common problems that many talked about is how the movie recycles many scenes from the video games. I know that there's supposed to be an adaptation, but there are way too many scenes that got recycled. Some will call it fan service, but again, we have way too many scenes that got recycled. It feels like they're lazy and not sure what to do with the movie. Another problem is of course Tom Holland. He tried his best honestly, but he just doesn't look like Nathan Drake and he's way too young for it. In fact, there's a scene where the stunt double, who was very noticeable by the way, looked a lot more like him. But otherwise, it's a decent action movie and has a few fan services here and there. Nice story, not bad. The fans will love it. Maybe we'll get a sequel one day.
Who the hell is this? I'm a friend of Sully.
Everybody knows Devil May Cry. There's an anime and there's a book about Devil May Cry. I never really read the books. All I know is that it explains why Trish wasn't in Devil May Cry 2, about how Dante had to fight clones of her. I don't really know. As for the anime, well, it's set between Devil May Cry 1 and 2. It's about a little girl who comes to him. He has to take care of her. There's really not much to say here. It's also set between Devil May Cry 1 and 2, just like how the book is. I mean, it's okay, I guess. Not much to say here. God of War, my all-time favorite franchise in gaming. I'm a big fan of it. Can't really say I'm a big fan of the comics. As of the making of this video, we have 3 God of War comic series. One is based on the Greek mythology, just simply called God of War. One is based on the Norse mythology. As far as I know, it's digital only sadly, also called God of War. And one is called God of War Fallen God. Now, I've read all 3, and here's my thought. The Greek God of War comics is a prequel to the series, focuses more on Kratos and his adventures before slaying his family. His daughter is sick, and so he must find a cure for her. It had potential, but the story doesn't really go anywhere, and the art style is so ugly. The art style could have worked much better as a poster or something, but it doesn't fit well as a comic, because I can barely see anything most of the time. And then there's God of War, based on the Norse mythology. This one is a prequel to the first game, the Norse mythology I mean. It focuses on Kratos trying to control his anger and was concerned on whether Atreus is going to make it or not. It's a decent comic actually. Unfortunately, it's digital only. You can get it from the PlayStation Store. After playing God of War Ragnarok, you can tell that the writers didn't have much material from the game, but tried their best. Because Faye is in the comic and she looks way different here. Well, she doesn't have a face actually, they didn't show her. So they tried their best. Not bad really. The comic isn't bad, but you're not really missing much. Next we have God of War Fallen God. This one has the best art style in the series, and everybody was hyped for this, but it's a wasted potential. This one is set after Kratos sacrificed himself to give hope to the world. Now he wants to get rid of his memories of the nightmares and wants to be free. The action in this comic is really awesome, but the story doesn't really go anywhere. It's okay I guess, but it's a wasted potential. That's not the only God of War adaptations by the way. We also have novels. There's God of War 1 and 2, based on the Greek games. They're honestly good, and they expand heavily on the story, because let's be honest, most of the God of War games before the Norse mythology didn't have much story, so they expand upon it more, and even shows about Ares and Zeus talking to each other. Some characters didn't have much role in the first game or second game, they now have a much bigger role. Both are decent, worth checking out. There's also another God of War novel called God of War. It's based on the Norse mythology game, God of War 2018. It's also written by Cory Barlog's father. I don't have the first two novels, unfortunately, because I can't really find them, they seem very rare. But I do have the 2018 novel. Maybe it's an unofficial copy, but I will take what I get. Not only did I read this, but I also heard the audiobook for all the novels. And here's something special about the 2018 one. It's read by Alistair Duncan. Who's Alistair Duncan? The voice actor of Mimir. So yeah, this is a very great adaptation. It follows the games very closely, with some minor extras here and there. Cory Barlog's father did a great job here. It's really worth checking out. There's a video game adaptation that everybody will be surprised when they hear about it. You may actually question, why does this even exist? No, it's not the first Super Mario movie. No, it's not Gran Turismo. No, it's not Tetris. And no, I'm not talking about Pixels movie. I'm talking about Elf Bowling. Yes, that old Flash game that you used to play in the early 2000s or late 90s, it's based on that. There's really not much to say here. It's just a Flash game that's free. I have no idea who thought this could work as a movie, because guess what? It sucks. And you know what's funny? There was a planned sequel to this, but it was so bad that they decided to cancel it quickly, without any thinking. And you know what's even funny? It's just a Flash game, so there's really not much to say about this game. But somehow, the movie is a poor grasp of the source material. They really ruined it so much. This is probably the worst adaptation of a video game. I think it's pretty obvious that one of the adaptations that you want me to talk about is the Super Mario movie. That movie wasn't really successful, and unfortunately it failed so badly, it was terrible. Eventually Nintendo decided to never make a movie after the game. It led to Nintendo being very careful and overprotective on their IPs. Now they don't just give it to anybody. But this movie does have its fan base. It became popular throughout the years. Eventually in 2023 we finally got another Mario adaptation, but this time in animation form. It was a cartoon instead. Mario is voiced by Chris Pratt, Donkey Kong by Seth Rogen. You know the cast. For what it's worth, it's a decent adaptation, honestly. One of the best movies, but it's not the best. The movie is relying on fan service and nostalgia a little. You don't have to play Mario games or Nintendo games to understand them. But yeah, it's mostly, look at this reference, and so on. Otherwise, it's a decent adaptation. And the song Peaches, Peaches, Peaches is great. Peaches, 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 peaches. Jack Black really nails it as Bowser. Give it a shot if you can. Donkey Kong. Perhaps at this point everybody knows about it. But one of the best, if not the best adaptation for a video game ever made was The Last of Us show. To be fair, my hopes for this show wasn't really that great. And with such high reviews, I expected something else. I expected it to be bribed or something. But no, the show is wonderful. Everything about this show is amazing. Not only does it adapt it well, it expands upon it. It changes a few things here and there. Some are good, some are bad, but for the most part, it's better than the game itself. And it does have a few decent fan service here and there. Like Ellie's mom is played by Ashley Johnson, who's Ellie in the video games. It's a great introduction to the series if you've never played the games. Episode 3 as well, it's a whole different story. Well, granted it's a filler, but it's honestly enjoyable and the best episode in this show that has a really great story. Give it a try if you haven't seen it. And I also love how they're releasing it on Blu-ray and DVDs as well, despite the fact that streaming is taking over movies and shows. There is a second season coming in 2025 at least. It's honestly a great show. It's worth the wait. Pedro Pascal and Bella Ramsey have really nailed it well.
Come this far, then you know it's out there.
Just to let you know, I'm well aware that I've left a lot of video game adaptations that I haven't spoke of. Yes, I'm well aware that I skipped the Resident Evil movies and the TV show. And yes, I'm well aware that I skipped the Pokemon franchise. I just want to talk about the ones that I know of, that I've spoken of. Like, there's so many and I could talk about them for more, but these are the ones that I've seen that I decided to talk about them. Besides, the Pokemon one is way too long for me to discuss. Bottom line is, video game adaptations can be bad, but recently it has changed a lot. Back then I think they just thought it was just a cash grab, and back then for some reason they put a director called Paul Orr, who wasn't really a good director, but for some reason they kept hiring him. Now he has his own restaurant and I heard he's doing a great job there. Good luck, man. But nowadays Video game adaptations are taken way seriously than before, like Netflix is doing a great job lately with the video game adaptations, and Sony is trying to put more effort into the video game adaptations by making a special studio for them. Things have changed. I'll try to discuss more maybe one day if the video is successful enough or if I found another idea. But for now, that's it for today. Thank you guys for watching my video. I really hope you enjoyed it, and if you do, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time for more.